From a distance, I thought this place may have been occupied, but when I got closer, it was clear to me that this house was abandoned.
Stay at my house overnight? Maybe you can sleep in the back shed or something like that, but I don't know about that either. Have you ever said somebody's name for a long time, mispronouncing it every single time, and one day they tell you, and you just like, oh dang. It's not a big deal if they didn't tell you before, especially if you heard it in a different context like I did today. But I gotta tell you, man, it's still frustrating. I've been reacting to Juan C's channel for a long time, pronouncing it Wanzi. He just had a promotional spot at the beginning of his video say to use promo code WANC.
Make sure to use code WANC.
I can't believe I've been saying Wanzi all this time, man. Now we're gonna have to go to Juan C's channel. Make sure to head over to Juan C's channel, guys. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you like reaction videos, make sure to subscribe to my channel as well. Let's get into this animation.
I'm not much of a storyteller, so bear with me.
Okay.
During the 90s, I went through a very rough time in my life. After a failed marriage, I became a bit of a nomad, wandering across country on foot with no particular destination. It was a stupid idea, but I was in a very hopeless place back then, and just looking to experience something new. I've been traveling down South Dakota and hitched a ride with a truck driver into Nebraska. For those of you who have never been to that state, there are large sections of land that go on for miles with nothing but cornfields lining either side of the road. We split ways at a rest stop, and I made my way into what I now know to be the Sand Hills of Nebraska. The Sand Hills region is one of the most isolated areas in the United States. 20,000 square miles of nothing but dunes and prairies. I planned on hitchhiking my way to the nearest town and catching a bus to visit a friend I had in Omaha. But I found out the hard way that this stretch of road was not ideal for hitchhiking. I barely saw any cars going down this road, and the ones that did completely ignored me.
I mean, you just said it was the most isolated place on earth. I know you're desperate to change things and get things moving, but that's just a lack of common sense. You can't go into the desert. Now, without some supplies, at least just hoping to hitchhike. You're literally taking a gamble on people just saying, yeah, I'm gonna stop for this random stranger. Maybe if you look like you were in distress next to a car that had been broken down or something like that, it would have been different. But with your thumb out, I don't know. I've never picked up a hitchhiker in my life, and I don't think I ever would. I think I would pass next to him and talk to him through the window saying, hey, you need something? And get on the phone. I don't think I'd let him in my vehicle, though. That seems dangerous.
12 hours had passed, and I was running low on food and water. I was utterly exhausted at this point,
Of course.
and I needed to find a place to rest for a while. I had about an hour left of daylight. Lucky for me, I happened to come upon an old farmhouse that was situated about a half-mile away from the main road. From a distance, I thought this place may have been occupied, but when I got closer, it was clear to me that this house was abandoned.
You see, that's even sillier. The idea of going to someone's house and asking them to seek refuge because you're a hitchhiker, you're less likely to get that than a car ride, in my opinion. Stay at my house overnight? Maybe you can sleep in the back shed or something like that, but I don't know about that either. I think I would just call somebody again. As far as sleeping in an abandoned house, this would be probably the only circumstances that I'd be willing to do it to. If I was stranded somewhere and there was an abandoned house, I would rather sleep in an abandoned house than out underneath the stars with no equipment, like no blanket, no canopy, no nothing. If I didn't have a car or anything, if I was just walking and I needed some place to stay and I didn't have blankets or anything, I would probably want to sleep in some sort of shelter, even though it was very, very run down like this place looks.
This was around the fall, so weather in Nebraska wasn't terrible. However, the nights were a bit on the cold side, so I decided to hold up in this house for the night and continue my journey the next day. I had enough supplies to last me one more night. The house was your typical rotting husk. Smelled like mold, severe water damage, creaking floors, etc.
Yeah.
The living room seemed to be the only decent place to settle down at,
Alright.
so I unpacked my sleeping bag and eventually dozed off.
Oh, he does have a sleeping bag. Okay. I'm out. Bye.
I woke up to the sound of floorboards creaking. I immediately sat up and listened. I could hear several pairs of footsteps thudding all around the house.
No, that's what you get
They
out
were
now.
coming from upstairs, downstairs, on the back porch outside, and even in the same room with me.
That's an army?
But I didn't see a thing. I quickly got to my feet and walked over to the nearest window and peered out. What I saw was truly alarming and sent a wave of nausea through my entire body. Several cloaked figures were standing side by side. They appeared to be encircling the house. Because of the footsteps I heard, I thought there may have been people in the house with me. So in an effort to defuse things, I made another big brain decision and spoke up. Hello? I'm sorry if I'm trespassing. I was just looking for a place to rest for the night. I thought this place was abandoned.
This looks like a cult. And I don't know if negotiating with them like that. This place is obviously watched, you know, because they know maybe this is their little meeting place or something like that. Whatever the case may be, I would have rathered paranormal, okay? If I would have heard footsteps in the middle of the night and figured out it was a ghost, as long as it didn't kill me, I was fine. I'd just get the hell out of there. This, on the other hand, this is ridiculous, man.
Again, I'm sorry. All the footsteps stopped at once. An eerie silence followed. It was so quiet that I could have heard a mouse shitting in the corner. I got this real bad feeling in my gut, so I reached into my backpack and pulled out my hunting knife.
Okay.
I gathered the rest of my things and slowly moved out into the hallway. Aside from the mysterious figures outside, I was also thinking of what was making those footsteps inside the house. As I said, I heard several footsteps when I woke up, so I figured it wouldn't be long before I ran into someone inside the house. But after combing the entire downstairs, I didn't see or hear anything. I could tell something was very off. That bad feeling I mentioned earlier intensified, despite the fact that I knew there was a bunch of weirdos in cloaks waiting for me outside. Something told me that if I didn't leave the house that very moment, something terrible was going to happen to me. The house was located in a wide open clearing. Beyond the clearing was a barrier of tall grass. When I left through the front door, I stopped directly in front of the house. No matter which direction I looked, I saw another hooded menace blocking my way. I suddenly felt this heat on my back. I quickly turned around. I cannot explain how this happened. Moments before, I was inside that house, walking around, and it was now on fire.
What the heck?
I backed away. I decided that I was going to run through the figures and get the hell out of Dodge. But when I turned back around, the figures were nowhere in sight.
What?
Things were getting way too bizarre for me at that point. The only thing I knew for sure was that I had to get the fuck out of that place. When I got back out to the main road, I didn't stop walking until I finally got to a town, whose name I can't remember. The rest of my time in Nebraska went well, and I got my life together shortly after I got back home from my trip. As long as I live, I'll never forget that old farmhouse and those mysterious cloaked figures. This incident still baffles me to this day, but perhaps some things are best left unanswered.
Oh, you know, I have no idea what that was. It some sort of cult that was trying to. Why would you burn down the entire house to kill somebody, though? Right? Especially if you had multiple people. Was it an illusion? Was it paranormal? Was it some sort of nightmare or something like that to actually get him to leave the house because of something, because of the house like just burning? Did somebody light the fire? God dang, I don't know what to think. That's weird though, huh? Stay away from abandoned houses, guys. We've talked about this many times before. It's a bad idea, especially ones that are being owned by cults. Like I said, it would have had to been me being out stranded in the middle of nowhere, and even with that sleeping bag, I don't know if I would have went squat somewhere. Also, he said he had one day of supplies left for food. I would have definitely turned around and went back up. He said he was exhausted. You know, a 2-hour power nap in the middle of nowhere do your body good, man. You can get back up and go the other way. Traveling at night seems like a scary idea too, but I mean, if you weren't afraid to hitchhike, you obviously aren't afraid of strangers, man. That's something else, you guys. Juan Z Entertainment. Make sure to go over to his channel and subscribe, guys. And a couple other videos that I reacted to him from here. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off, and we'll see you next time.